The court fell into stunned silence, and not from fear, but awe. Even those ministers loyal to the old order, once quick to excuse Li Hao's defiance as youthful arrogance, now found themselves speechless. From where had this child drawn such fierce clarity, this towering sense of duty that reached beyond ambition? The Grand Tutor, once proud and immovable, lowered his voice and spoke with genuine regret, revealing a collection of poems brought from Qingzhui's line traced to the very boy they had dismissed. Emperor Yu, skeptical but intrigued, mused that if Li Hao could master chess, then poetry was no miracle. Still, he held his tongue before the scholars. The Grand Tutor, shamed by the depth of the verses, admitted that they, all of them, had become stale echoes beside such untainted resolve. For a boy cloistered in a courtyard to stir the hearts of the Empire's most learned was no simple feat. Zhao's voice rang through the hall like a blade, each word cutting through pretense. Yes, the boy had defied decorum, had crossed the line between father and son, but must we cling to lifeless rituals at the cost of truth? In Dayu, the heart of ritual is spirit, not bondage. A general's glory built on silence, not title. A patriot's cry echoing beyond passing, better to sever ties for the realm than return beneath horsehide. Let my loyal heart light the scrolls of time. And as Zhao's final words thundered through the court, none could deny it. This was not rebellion. This was awakening. The young man speaks with a quiet sorrow, reflecting on the lives lost on the battlefield, questioning what truly matters in the face of war. His words linger in the air. What kind of person holds fame and the world so lightly? His challenge is clear. How many would forsake everything for the greater good? His speech stirs the crowd, who begin to bristle at the implication that they are all driven by vanity. Among them, a military governor is visibly moved, his hardened exterior cracking as he recalls the sacrifices of fallen soldiers. For the first time, the harsh reality of war hits home, and a single line resonates deeply. What need is there for a horsehide shroud on my return? His eyes moisten as he remembers those who gave their lives to protect the pass. Amidst this reflection, Emperor Yu, engrossed in poetry, ponders the complexity of loyalty and sacrifice. While others argue that filial piety cannot be so easily dismissed, despite the violence of a sword drawn against one's father. Yet, a sharp retort from Zhao shifts the discussion. Facts are not always truth, and perspectives must be questioned. He urges a deeper investigation, defending a youth's true heart and his capacity for forgiveness. The room falls into silence, as the weight of the arguments leaves no clear victor. What was once a simple matter of punishment becomes a battle of ideal. In a tense court scene, Zhao challenges a military governor's dismissive remarks about poetry, provoking him to speak his own words. The governor claims loyalty to the emperor and a readiness to die for the country, but Zhao scoffs, dismissing it as mere empty rhetoric. Zhao then emphasizes that poetry, much like true loyalty, must come from the heart. Its power lies in its depth, not in shallow words. As scholars review Zhao's poetry, they are struck by the unexpected brilliance of this young warrior, who fuses fierce loyalty with literary grace, leaving them both amazed and bewildered. Emperor Yu, impressed by the poetry, offers his praise, silencing any opposition in the court. However, his mind lingers on the mysterious youth, whose poetic talents stir his thoughts as he contemplates the boy's fierce spirit and potential. Snow fell in silence as Emperor Yu gazed into the distance, his voice low. It's snowing. I wonder how that child fares beyond the pass. Chuju Yue, steady as ever, bowed and spoke with quiet certainty. He'd seen the spark, the truth hidden in subtlety. It wasn't the boy who started the clash, but one bound to the Buddha master. The emperor's expression shifted, a flicker of knowing in his eyes. He spoke of retreat, of old strategies dissolving like footprints in snow, then paused, smiling faintly. Bring him the dragon's sword. Chuju Yue's heart trembled. The blade of legends. To gift such a sword meant something deeper, unspoken. The emperor, uncharacteristically gentle, added, if he grows weary, let him return. I grant him the halls of Gantao. Chuju Yue nodded, though the weight of those words was heavier than any armor. Far from the palace, where snow blanketed the fallen in still white grace, Li Hao paused his writing. Cultivation scroll in hand, he shielded it from the flakes with a flicker of power, murmuring to no one, snow again. Bad day for fishing. His gaze drifted east, toward Qingzhou, as if distance could answer longing. Around him, demons lay like forgotten thoughts. A voice broke the stillness. You two should consider leaving. Snow fell. The wind held its breath. Somewhere between silence and memory, choices were being made. Li Hao's eyes flickered with calm intensity as he watched her. Li Hongzhuang's lips curled into a subtle smile, her words laced with caution. When you wiped out their lair yesterday, did you inquire about the situation at Longshan Taoist Temple? The three immortal realms hold more than one great demon. You've slain Chihu Jun, the dragon steed, and now they will come for revenge. Her voice lowered slightly, adding, all these years, they've held back, but I suspect it's all part of a slow, deliberate plan. Li Hao, deep in thought, pressed on, asking, what do you think their plan is? She answered with quiet insight, several possibilities. First, they might demand more live sacrifices from the northern cold country. Second, they may try to wear down our Li family. Directly assaulting Heavenly Gate Pass won't accomplish much, not with Dragon Pass Road already in their grasp. But by isolating us, they can bleed us slowly. Perhaps the old dragon has a grudge against our ancestors. This could be revenge. Li Hao nodded, acknowledging her understanding. Today, though, they'll be relentless, she continued. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Without hesitation, the three of them turned toward the camp's edge, where towering figures emerged from the mist. Li Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Here they come. Despite having foreseen their arrival, the weight of the moment was palpable. The demonic aura was overwhelming, blanketing the camp like an ominous cloud. Four enormous figures stood outside, their presence freezing the air. Li Hongzhuang and Li He instinctively moved forward, shielding Li Hao, their resolve firm despite past tensions. Li Hao, however, remained unshaken, passing the cultivation technique to Ren Xianxia and calming the little white fox at his side. He gripped the massive pig-fang sword, feeling its weight taller than him, like a crescent gate. Two from the unwithering realm, two from the indestructible realm, Li Hongzhuang observed, recognizing the demonic presence. Her battle-hardened eyes scanned the figure Stuo she had encountered before during previous attacks. The stage was set, and the storm was about to break. Li, he stood at the edge, unsure of his own strength, but with a resolve that matched the pressure of the moment. I can hold one off, but killing might be difficult, he said, a tone of warning in his voice. Li Hongzhuang, ever the strategist, nodded, deciding to move swiftly. Li, he and I will lure the two unwithering realm opponents away. Do your best to hold them off, and once I deal with one, I'll come for reinforcements, she said, her voice calm but filled with purpose. Li Hao, ever sharp, interjected with a chilling observation. There are two lying in ambush in the dark. His darkened gaze, enhanced by his training in the Bright Jade True Demon skill, revealed hidden threats that others couldn't perceive. Shocked but determined, the trio understood the danger they faced. 6 demons. Splitting up would only spell defeat. Li Hongzhuang's heart sank as memories of the past flashed through her mind. She had prepared for this moment, but the weight of it hit harder than expected. Prepare to retreat, she whispered, but Li Hao's response was unwavering. I'm staying to hold the city. You can go, but I'm not leaving. His resolve burned brighter than the flames around them. Anger flared in Li Hongzhuang's eyes as she scolded him. Are you still bearing a grudge at a time like this? But Li Hao's silent defiance echoed louder than any words could. This was not just about survival, it was about honoring a deeper legacy. The tension in the camp rises as the demon's impatience grows, signaling the start of a tense confrontation. The peacock nobleman, draped in an aura of arrogance, offers a second chance to a woman who previously refused him his proposal to make her his wife hanging in the air. Yet her response is a sharp challenge. Kill the grotesque toad by her side first, or forget it. The ensuing exchange between the peacock nobleman and the giant toad brings forth a savage atmosphere as the toad spits scalding venom, aiming to break through the woman's defenses. With a sharp swing of her sword, she repels the demon's strike, showing no sign of fear or hesitation. Despite the monstrous threats surrounding her, the woman stands unyielding, her confidence echoing louder than any of their taunts. Her sword gleams with purpose, and as the demons prepare to strike, they are met with an unwavering will that could break even the stormiest of forces. This encounter reflects more than just a battle. It is a struggle for honor, survival, and the price of defiance against overwhelming odds. The atmosphere is thick with ancient powers, as each figure steps closer to their inevitable clash, each carrying the weight of their own history and desire. The tension is palpable, a battle of wills waiting to unfold. 10 Elephants Demon Skill! The giant frog erupted with a thunderous roar as demonic energy surged, forming phantom elephant shadows thundering forward like collapsing mountains. Li Hao, Li Hongzhuang, and Li He leapt away, unwilling to clash head-on. Yet Li Hao's calm eyes flickered as a faint system panel appeared. Fishing experience plus 412 proof the frog had touched one of his invisible energy threads. Not fully hooked, but caught in the drag. Experience flowed. The creature stumbled into his trap, unaware it had already become prey. Beneath its frenzied charge, chaos threads began binding its limb. Sensing a strange human technique, the frog bellowed again, the roar rippling through the air, crushing the breath from Li Hongzhuang and Li He. But Li Hao stood firm. In that storm of sound, something stirred deep within rhythm, realization. Power surged through 84,000 pores. He roared back not like a man, but like a beast, a dragon, a truth echoing through flesh and world. The sound tore the frog's cry apart like paper in wind. Stunned, the demon faltered. Seizing the moment, the two companions unleashed their fury, blades flashing. Li Hao joined, his sword light crashing down like a mountain avalanche. The demon, once overwhelming, now found itself surrounded, isolated, and too late to realize this was not a clash. This was a reckoning. In an instant, the sky filled with feathers collapsing like a snow mountain, rapidly sweeping across the giant frog's mouth. A sharp clanging echoed within as the sword chi slashed its teeth with a metallic ring. The soft flesh inside its mouth bore several shallow sword wounds. This attack, which could tear apart a demon from the heavenly human realm, barely scratched the frog, a peak indestructible realm creature whose flesh was as tough as steel. Li Hao, having faced an immortal realm demon just the day before, was stunned by the minimal damage, realizing that the frog's weak spots weren't where he had struck. The tender-looking flesh inside was likely tougher than the outer skin of some 3 immortal realm demons. After releasing his strike, he swiftly retracted his fishing line as Li Hongzhuang and Li He attacked in the brief interval. With his mastery of the fishing Dao's 5th level, Li Hao employed various fishing tricks, including a hidden line which even the giant frog, a 3 immortal realm creature, failed to detect. This line, like a divine weapon iron chain, wrapped around the frog's limbs, stretching toward its mouth and eye. At the front of the line, energy condensed into an explosive hook, a fusion of dozens of hooks that would rip out chunks of flesh upon contact. Li Hao recalled what his second uncle had said about hooking and lifting creatures from the immortal realm. Never did he imagine that in a few years he would be able to fish up beings from the 3 immortal realms. The giant frog, enraged by the fine, sword-like threads coiling around its limbs, could barely perceive them, feeling only a faint, transparent shadow and an unexplainable fear. Meanwhile, as Li Hongzhuang charged at the frog, the peacock young master appeared in front of her, blocking her with his folding fan, which was a divine weapon. But Li Hongzhuang's relentless attack forced him to retreat, his face growing grim. Suddenly, the ground rumbled as a giant bull demon, another unwithering realm creature, charged at Li He. Emitting purple demonic fog from its horns, it nearly stumbled over something unseen, leaving behind a shallow blood mark on its hoof. The bull demon, confused but cautious, enveloped itself in black glow and triggered an earthquake, causing earth spikes to rise and sweep everything in its path. The earth trembled as spikes shot up, tearing through the remaining tents in the camp, their sharp edges cutting into the ground. Li Hao, sensing the broken line of another of his traps, barely paid it any attention. After all, fishing for 2 immortal great demons at once was far beyond his reach. His focus remained solely on the enormous frog before him. With precision, he guided the fishhook, its sharp thorns piercing the giant creature's skin, climbing upwards toward its eye. The frog recoiled, startled by the attack, its ancient memories awakening. Long ago, it had been a mere swamp frog, almost caught by a scholar, a memory it had buried in time. Now, as an immortal, it roared in fury, enraged at the audacity of someone daring to fish it. It was no longer that helpless creature. With a powerful leap, it sent the fishhook flying, an act Li Hao had anticipated. He remained unfazed, knowing that not every attempt would succeed. Realizing his mistake, he swiftly summoned demon corpses, their weight lifted with ease under his command. The fishhook transformed into a flying needle, embedding itself in their bodies, waiting for the right moment. From the sidelines, Feng Boping, watching the scene unfold, chuckled at Li Hao's calmness amidst such chaos. His confidence, bolstered by Feng's protection, allowed him to continue fishing with serene determination. This was more than just an ordinary battle. It was a game of strategy, patience, and quiet ambition. With a sharp swoosh, the fish, hook-shaped like a flying needle, ripped through the air, following the demon corpses and sinking deep into the giant frog's tough hide. But despite its size, the hook only made a shallow mark. Though his hook crafting skills were refined by the 5th stage of fishing Tao, his own strength was still limited to the heavenly human realm, and the fishing line he used was surprisingly durable despite the odds. The giant frog, enraged by the foreign object embedded in its skin, unleashed a vile, decaying mist that scorched the ground with a stench of rot. Li, he blocked by a barrage of earth spikes, struggled to dodge as a monstrous, mummified demon summoned waves of ghostly entities to swarm him. His sword sliced through them as though cutting air, but they gnawed at him relentlessly, his armor unable to hold them back. Realizing the attack was a powerful divine soul strike, he gathered his own spiritual might to fight back, but the endless stream of ghosts threatened to overwhelm him. As 2 more demons emerged from the shadows, one pounced on Li, he like a hungry predator, its gaping maw aiming to devour him whole. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a sudden, unseen force yanked the demon into the sky. Feng Boping, sitting serenely among the clouds, chuckled softly. With a flick of his line, he caught the demon like a fish, enjoying the thrill of the chase more than the kill itself. It wasn't about crushing his enemies, it was the satisfaction of outsmarting them, playing with them like puppets. As the giant wolf demon struggled in his invisible grip, Feng Boping was determined not to let it escape not with Li. He watching, eager to see how the game played out. With a delicate touch, Feng Boping channeled his energy through the hook, sending it deeper into the enemy's body, locking their divine soul in place. "Rise for me!" he commanded, his fingers pulling the line with precision, lifting the massive wolf demon into the sky. The hook pierced through its body, skewering its flesh and organs as though it were trapped on a grill, unable to escape. In agony, the demon begged for its life, terrified by the old man's unyielding grip. "A fisherman never returns empty-handed," Feng Boping remarked calmly, his words carrying the weight of inevitable fate. Below, the remaining demons looked on in horror, their terror intensifying when they realized who stood above them. The presence of the Four Stands realm was undeniable. As one demon attempted to flee, it was ensnared by Li Hao's quick reflexes, the fishing hook driving deep into its body. The giant frog's desperate escape was thwarted, its cries of pain echoing as it too was dragged into the air, helpless against the overwhelming force. The scene unfolded like a grim dance power clashing against terror, and the demons' hopeless struggles against the calm determination of their captors. The creature spat corrosive venom along the fishing line, its fury igniting a desperate attempt to dissolve its bindings. But Li Hao, calm as the breath before a storm, unleashed more threads of true energy, thin as moonlight, yet sharp enough to tether fate itself. Just as tension gripped the camp, a dragon's roar shattered the air, followed by a sweeping chaos of wind blades that clawed at the earth. Feng Boping's cold snort echoed like a barrier of will, scattering the chill with sheer presence. "So it's you," he said, his voice charged with memory. From beyond, a deep voice replied cut short, as if the world itself silenced him. Li Hongzhuang's face turned pale. The Dragon Lord had come no for vengeance, but suspicion. For if they dared sever Chihu Jun's fate, what force had they to lean on? Her eyes lifted to the sky where a robed figure sat cloaked in Mistan Elder from the Four Stands realm. So this was their hidden hand, silent all these years. Was he tied to Seventh Brother, but hadn't he already arrived? Her mind spiraled, and in that chaos, the demons fled, save for one Li Hao's prey, straining against the line as crimson panic welled in its eyes. "Dare you trespass?" came Feng Boping's voice from the clouds, sharp as a broken vow. "I only came to discipline a few reckless ones." The deep voice began then, and the ground shook. Words fell into silence, swallowed by a quake that cracked the very air. The roar of an enraged dragon echoed in the distance, its voice cutting through the air like a fierce proclamation. "You too are a demon, yet you serve the human race." The sky trembled as a brilliant cerulean swordlight appeared, towering high and visible from miles away, with its blade slicing the air as though it would cleave the world in two. A wave of energy split the forest, leaving a long scar upon the land, and soon, torrents of water cascaded from nowhere, crashing down like a mighty waterfall. In the heart of this storm, the dragon's roar reverberated so powerfully that even those far off, including Li Hao and his companions, felt a tremor in their hearts. The ground itself shook again with another devastating strike, causing pebbles to skip beneath their feet. Just as silence fell over the scene, agonizing screams rang out only to be silenced abruptly. As the quiet settled, a figure appeared from the path leading toward the camp. She was a delicate woman, her flowing dress shimmering like water, and her azure hair cascaded like a waterfall, marking her as no mere human. She was Song Chumo, the Water Qilin, a familiar yet mysterious presence. Li Hao stood frozen, bewildered. How could she be here, thousands of miles from her sworn duty to guard the Tan Palace? Yet here she was, dragging two massive demon beasts behind her, the bull demon and a peacock, the latter on the verge of death, its body broken. With a smile she approached, the cold air around her seeming to soften as she spoke. "What? An old friend comes over and you don't welcome them?" The scene unfolds with a piercing voice that snaps everyone back to reality. Two figures, from a prestigious family, are left stunned by the sudden appearance of a powerful demon king. This legendary figure, a rare visitor from the distant mountain, seems to have appeared solely for one reason: Li Hao. With a calm yet confident smile, Li Hao tells them to wait, promising to deal with the matter before greeting them. Meanwhile, the giant frog demon, once struggling to escape, now finds itself blocked and immobilized, its only hope being to serve the human race to survive. As the moment grows tense, Song Chumo, with her casual demeanor, inquires if help is needed, causing the demon to beg for mercy. The frog's desperate pleas paint a scene of inner conflict as it questions whether to resist or surrender. In the end, the giant frog remains still, knowing its fate is in Li Hao's hand. This chapter builds on the intricate dynamics of power, survival, and the uneasy alliances that form in the face of danger. The tension between mercy and justice unfolds as Li Hao's calm demeanor contrasts sharply with the demon's frantic fear, creating a moment of suspense and anticipation for what's to come. The giant frog, startled, hesitated before revealing, "I have one, but our cultivation techniques are specific to our kind. For example, I've refined myself by absorbing the sun, moon, and marshlands." Li Hao, eager, pressed, "Let me see it." Reluctantly, the frog agreed. "I don't have it with me, but you can follow me home." Li Hao, unwavering, insisted, "Now." Feeling Li Hao's resolve, the frog reluctantly produced a scroll from its mouth, coated in mucus. With a wave of his hand, Li Hao removed the mucus, pulling out the technique. Without a moment's hesitation, he lunged forward with his sword. The fishing was done. The experience from repeated battles was worthless. Furious, the frog roared, "I'll eat you even if I die!" As it prepared for its last strike, a poison mist spewed from its mouth, only to be stopped by Song Chumo's water magic. The frog swelled in agony, its body deflating as blood shot from its eyes, its flesh wrinkling. Li Hao, avoiding the mess, stopped just in time. The frog's body collapsed into a shriveled, lifeless form. Turning to Song Chumo, Li Hao said, "I could have handled it myself." She chuckled, "Look at you, blaming me." He scratched his head. "Thanks for the help today," she reassured him. "No need. Even without me, you'd have been fine." Observing from afar, others realized this powerful figure had come for Li Hao. Li Hao, smiling, reassured them. That's not true. The quiet power struggle between the two highlighted not just their strength, but also their growing understanding of each other. Li Hao, standing at the crossroads of destiny, realizes the importance of every choice. With the great demons locked in their eternal struggle, a strange visitor appears with a story, a swordsmanship manual, and an unspoken truth. Song Chumo, with her graceful yet imposing presence, delivers the legendary Taiji Qiankun sword manual to Li Hao, reminding him of his forgotten role as a teacher at Tan Palace Academy. But is it just about the sword? Or is it about the past he left behind? The teacher he once was, and the burdens he now carries? Li Hao, humbled by his past glory and disillusioned by his current state, takes the manual with a mix of gratitude and silence, acknowledging the path that leads him further away from everything he once knew. In this moment, the weight of memory and choice presses against him. Will he embrace his legacy or carve his own destiny? Only time and the sword will tell. Li Hao accepted the sword manual with a calm hand, while wary eyes from Li Hongzhuang and Li He followed every move. Song Chumo's voice had made it clear. The gift held no alliance, no affection, only obligation. The air turned colder. To aid Li Hao now, with his name severed from the Li family, was not loyalty but quiet rebellion. Yet Tan Palace did just that, and more the water Qilin, a figure who moved only when the heavens stirred, had crossed mountains for him. Li Hongzhuang stood in silence, the defender of Heaven's Gate Pass who never received such backup, watching two four-stands realm protectors appear for her nephew. It wasn't about blood. It wasn't about duty. It was something else, something unspoken. Li, he took mental note, not for gossip, but for the Duke, whose rise had already shaken the peerage hierarchy. But now, with Li Hao present, even titled power felt irrelevant. Song Chumo's question, "Wasn't there a city here?" floated over dust and rubble. Li Hao's quiet reply, "It was destroyed, carried no anger, only a memory." As he noticed the dying peacock creature, he cast a thread of true force, hooking it cleanly. Fishing experience plus 2820 lit up in his mind like a whisper of recognition. Just before, he'd fished a massive frog ashore. Somehow, the act felt the same. A quiet pull, a silent severing, a trace of who he was before the storm. Li Hao, after a battle with the peacock demon, skillfully fished the remains for experience, earning a significant portion even from a dying creature. His fishing points had climbed to an impressive 35,000, almost enough to level up to the 6th stage. While Feng Boping watched, amused and speechless at Li Hao's methods, Li Hao, though slightly embarrassed by the act, explained that it was all for the experience. His mind shifted towards the corpse of the immortal great demon, realizing its potential to enhance his painting experience, though the conditions were less than ideal for such work. In a lighthearted moment, Li Hao suggested making pastries for Song Chumo, only to be caught in his own trick as she realized the situation. With a playful exchange, they discussed sharing the hardships and blessings. Meanwhile, Li Hao's bond with the Great Demon King left an impression on those around him. Both Li Hongzhuang and Li, he noticed that the Great Demon King held Li Hao in high regard, a relationship seemingly beyond mere talent or reputation. The complexity of their feelings hinted at deeper ties, possibly linked to Li Hao's potential, which may someday transcend the Four Stands realm in incredibly challenging feat. With Feng Boping's departure, the scene closed on the quiet yet impactful exchange between Li Hao and the Great Demon King, where mundane matters were left behind for deeper truths. He was a quiet soul, detached even from those who had reached the same realm as him, his words few and far between. If not for her presence, he would have been a breeze untouched, drifting freely between heaven and earth. The rising wind did not stir his heart, nor did his heart affect the calmness of the wind. "How long are you staying here?" she asked, observing the ruins of what once was a city. She smiled as her gaze shifted to the sword-wielding girl and the nervous fox nearby. Her voice carried an air of lightness when she asked, "How long do you want me here?" His response came without hesitation, a casual assurance. "The longer, the better." Her smile was knowing, a hint of mischief behind her words. "I thought I'd find you in poverty, ready to repay a favor when you ascended, but it seems my visit is unnecessary." With a sly grin, he replied, "The miles of dust beyond this place might just be missing your beauty." Her face flushed, and with a playful glare, she said, "I'll stay for no more than half a year." He understood. She had commitments to fulfill. Half a year was already a generous gift. During this time, he promised, "You can eat whatever you desire." She asked for small, crispy cakes, and without hesitation, he agreed. With no supplies on hand, he wrote a list of ingredients, slipping in personal items he liked, from brushes to paper and even a chess set. Yet, without an opponent, the game held little appeal. But that didn't bother him. He was always ready for the right moment. With the help of the geomantic chart, Song Chumo set out to replenish their supplies. The city was far, but with her assistance, they would manage. Meanwhile, Li Hao worked to rebuild their surroundings, gathering materials to create a small courtyard from the dirt map. A quiet home, in the midst of this stillness, was beginning to take form. Having a 15 Li Realm expert as a foreman was a stroke of luck, a match made in heaven. As Li Hao worked his magic on the dilapidated camp, transforming it before their eyes, Li Hongzhuang couldn't shake the feeling that this young man might one day rebuild entire cities, lost to time. But reality still lingered at the back of her mind. Half a year with the Great Demon King, and then who knew what would happen next? The powerful Four Stands Realm expert, hovering above them, was fleeting in presence, and deep connections were rare for such beings. Then, Song Shimo returned with supplies, and the small group worked together, bustling in the courtyard. Despite the little white fox's awkwardness, carrying everything on its tiny paws, the place began to come together. Yet, the new courtyard, fresh and untarnished, still lacked the warmth only human presence could bring. As Li Hao prepared dinner, roasting meat and making pancakes, the entire scene was oddly comforting, a stark contrast to the bloodied chaos outside. But for Li Hongzhuang, a sense of emptiness crept in. With two Four Stands Realm experts in the fold, she no longer had to be on constant alert, her body unwinding after years of tension. Sitting by the fire, watching the young man work, she felt like she had wandered into a dream. Who would have imagined such moments of peace at this perilous pass? And as the food was ready, the small group gathered around, enjoying the rare simplicity of a shared meal, a temporary reprieve from the chaos of the world beyond. Li Hao, a young man who was quietly forging his path through a world of forgotten magic and spiritual storms, found solace in the simple joys of daily life, like brewing wine and sitting quietly in the courtyard. As he brewed the wine, a deep sense of reflection washed over him, realizing how much his journey had changed him. Despite possessing one of the world's most powerful swordsmanship scrolls, he was far more intrigued by the subtle, personal connection to life that could be found in small, mundane tasks. His mind often wandered back to the moment when he sat alone under the fading sunset. Reading through the teachings of the Taiji Qiankun sword of technique, he soon understood in its essence without even needing to wield a blade. The more he delved into the practice, the clearer his inner path became. Not one of might, but one of understanding and clarity. Yet, as Li Hao began to embrace this quiet mastery, his reflection was interrupted by thoughts of his past. A deepening mystery of his identity that haunted him as he walked further away from the expectations of the world. And though he carried a sword no longer, he remained a silent force, detached from the ambitions that once defined him. Each step was a small rebellion against the noise of the world. And as he stepped into the unknown, he did so with a soft and solemn heart, knowing full well that the true power lay not in what he could strike down, but in what he could choose to leave behind. These techniques, word and spirit alike, felt connected, whispering of a unity beyond form. If fused, perhaps a path embracing all could be born. Li Hao glimpsed this truth in silence, spirit merging with the heavens, stepping just beyond the human. No longer bound by rigid styles, his gaze pierced the veil of techniques, seeking not mastery of form but the essence beneath. Yet he knew this was only the threshold of his Grandmaster path, the journey of embracing all without clinging to any. What lay at its end? He smiled faintly. Like the sun's warmth or the moon's gentle light, perfection was not something to chase. To grasp too tightly is to burn out, like Kwafu chasing the sun. But to become like the cold, moon quiet, eternal was the true path. Letting go, he picked up his brush. From a pile of fading Echo's demon corpse-ish sketched, each stroke infused with spirit. Dead form still taught him. As ink dance and memories bled onto the scroll, his art of painting ascended to the 6th stage, nearing new heights. 2 days passed in silence. No new threats, only stillness. Within that piece, Li Hao painted over 1,000 times, draining the last echoes of experience from the fallen. Each drawing, a mirror of memory. Each moment, a quiet step forward. Li Hao, determined to reach the 6th stage, knows he needs to accumulate 100,000 more to break through. Yet, despite his focused efforts, the elusive breakthrough of spiritual awakening in painting remains just out of reach. As he continues refining and recording his cultivation techniques, an unexpected arrival disrupts his solitude. The smell of food wafts through the air from the courtyard, where the serene scene contrasts sharply with the surrounding devastation of the border pass. A familiar figure arrives, Chuju Yue, bearing an imperial edict. He dismounts in front of the tranquil courtyard, noticing the calm presence of Li Hao and the strange atmosphere marked by the great demon king's influence. Surprised by this rare visit, Chuju Yue delivers the emperor's message with a formal tone, while Li Hao, dusting off flour from his hands, greets the envoy with a simple bow. The encounter is brief, yet filled with unspoken tension, as Li Hao's life continues to unfold in unexpected ways amidst the chaos. Emperor Yu, acknowledging the bravery of the Count in guarding the frontier, presented him with a dark golden sword, a token of deep respect. The Count, taken aback but gracious, accepted the gift, thanking both Emperor Yu and the messenger, Chuju Yu. Chuju Yue, however, added a surprising offer. The Count was invited to study at Gantao Palace, a place reserved for royal heirs, an honor seldom extended. The Count's companions were stunned, realizing the magnitude of the Emperor's favor and offer that tied the Count even closer to the royal family. Yet the Count, moved by a sense of duty and personal conviction, politely declined, choosing to remain steadfast in his path and not entangle himself further with royal politics. Chuju Yue, though taken aback, respected the Count's resolve, yet couldn't help but wonder about the deeper reasons behind such a decision. As he left, his thoughts turned to the tempting aroma of roasted meat left behind, but his sense of duty prevailed, and he rode off into the distance, pondering the complexities of fate and choice. Inside the courtyard, as Li Hao returned to the fire, the air was heavy with the quiet resolve of his actions. Li Hongzhuang and Li, he had been left speechless after witnessing his unwavering decision, unable to offer any words of persuasion. The weight of his choice to leave the Gantao Palace echoed loudly, a testament to his unyielding determination. As Li Hao gripped the sword, its unsheathing was a moment that seemed to bend time itself, a flash of light cutting through the air with a roar of a dragon. The blade, Dragon Soar, was more than just a weapon. Its legacy and history whispered of its power, its past as a companion to sword saints. Li Hao, tapping the blade, could feel the sharpness not just of the metal but of the killing intent it carried, a reminder of the sword's storied past. Ren Xianxia, touched by the honor of holding such a legendary blade, was visibly moved. Yet, in the midst of the reverence, Li Hao smiled, offering a light-hearted shift in focus as he announced that dinner was ready. The moment passed with a quiet return to normalcy, though even Feng's indifferent gaze and wine-filled gourd couldn't hide the deep undercurrents of change. Later that evening, Li Hao meticulously transcribed the cultivation techniques he had mastered, improving upon the older, inferior versions with his own wisdom and insight. These techniques, including the 3 peerless techniques he had perfected after reaching the Grandmaster realm, were no simple gift. He entrusted them to Song Chumo, sending her on a mission to deliver them to the Li family's stationed army in Liangzhu. The weight of the task was heavy, not just in the physical sense, but in the quiet power of what was being shared. A legacy passed on in silence, wrapped in memory and future. In Qingzhou City, in front of the Divine General Mansion, the arrival of several Jiao lions carrying large bundles and a letter signals an unexpected turn of events. The person who arrives presents his identity token and whispers to the gate guard, triggering the news to reach Li Tiangang. Inside his study, Li Tiangang pores over interrogation results, his thoughts dark and focused when his trusted aide brings in the update. Furious, Li Tiangang slams his table and demands to see the contents of the bundles, suspecting a return of favor from a rival. As the bundles are unwrapped, Li Tiangang's expression turns darker, especially after reading a letter in an unfamiliar, superior handwriting. The contents shock him. The cultivation techniques, written with great skill, not only return the borrowed techniques, but exceed the owed amount, with a total of 124 manuals, including 3 peerless techniques. His disbelief grows as he flips through the pages, realizing that his son has learned far more than he ever anticipated. The return is not just a repayment, it's a challenge, a message of unexpected mastery that shakes Li Tiangang to his core. In just 14 years, he surpassed expectations, learning over 100 cultivation techniques and reaching the 15 Li realm. His talent was so extraordinary that it seemed otherworldly, even unimaginable for a demon possessing someone. During a fierce battle, he even had an epiphany, becoming a Tianren Grandmaster. Yet, despite his brilliance, doubts lingered in the heart of Li Tiangang. His talent was undeniable, but his natural coldness that led him to draw his sword against his own kin made him unworthy of the Li family's future. In troubled times, with the Dayu dynasty hanging by a thread, he couldn't afford to risk the family's legacy. As the elder cultivators reviewed his collected techniques, they marveled at his feats. Such a collection had not been seen in 1,000 years. The revelation left Li Tiangang in a state of conflicting emotions, pride, anger, and shock. His peerless cultivation techniques, however, might not be enough to make him a suitable leader for the Li family. In the end, it was clear brilliance alone does not guarantee a place at the top. The Imperial Court's divine general mansion set out on a ruthless mission to purge sects, collecting countless cultivation techniques, yet only a few were truly superior. Li Hao, however, returned all these manuals, leaving many in shock. The question arose, did Li Hao derive these techniques with help from powerful practitioners? Despite his young age of 14, Li Hao had learned over 100 techniques, baffling others as to how he managed to master them so quickly. The truth was, he spent many years at Listening Rain Tower under the guidance of his second uncle, where his potential was allowed to flourish without barriers. Li Mushu, deeply alarmed by the situation, turned his attention to Li Tiangang, realizing the child's return of the manuals symbolized a painful severance between father and son. Even as others weighed in on the consequences of this rift, they could not ignore the growing tension that threatened to destroy their familial bonds forever. The return of these techniques wasn't just about knowledge, it was a decisive statement of Li Hao's resolve to separate himself from his father. It left everyone wondering, would this fractured relationship be repairable, or was it too late for reconciliation? Li Tiangang reflects deeply on his father's teachings, remembering that fists are meant to conquer the world, not to harm his own. This principle has guided his actions for many years. But now, torn by conflicting emotions, he finds himself struggling. As he listens to Xianxia's gentle words, reminding him of his son's remarkable potential despite his carefree attitude, Li Tiangang is forced to confront his own anger and unresolved feelings. His son, despite his rebellious ways, holds the key to the future, yet a deep-seated rage burns in him whenever he recalls the coldness in the boy's eyes. Now, with the looming threat of chaos outside Liangzhou and the growing danger of demons, Li Tiangang reveals to his family the dire situation ahead. The fall of Heavenly Gate Pass and the rise of Mo Rivers are not just tactical decisions, but a reflection of the brutal realities they face. As they prepare for what's to come, the weight of their losses and the sacrifices to be made become all too real. What is at stake is not only their survival, but the legacy of their family and their honor. In the face of looming threats, the mission to protect Liangzhou is becoming ever more critical. With the demons poised to break through and invade, the situation has turned dire, as the Xia family has already suffered a tremendous loss with 2 powerful demon kings wreaking havoc. This moment of crisis leaves everyone rattled, especially Li Tiangang, who struggles with the consequences of his actions. His decision to push his son out, exposing him to danger, has led to growing tension, as Li Mushu confronts him with the painful truth. His son's talent, now in the hands of vengeful demons, leaves him vulnerable. Li Tiangang's harsh words only fuel the fire of family discord, especially when others begin to question his choices. In the midst of this turmoil, Li Tiangang contemplates sending his 5th brother to Liangzhou to assess the situation, with a personal mission ahead to lead the army when the demons strike, marking a turning point in their battle for survival. Li Xuanli nodded firmly. "No problem, leave it to me. I've been recovering from my injuries and am almost back to full strength now. I should have been the one to go to that battle in northern Yan." Li Tiangang shook his head. "Why should we make distinctions like that between us?" At his words, Li Xuanli's eyes grew slightly red, but he held back his emotions and said nothing more. Li Fenghua spoke up. "7th brother, if you need anything, just ask. 8th brother, your duty is to ensure Kangzhou's safety. Xiao Zhui gave his life to reclaim it. We cannot afford to lose it," Li Tiangang said seriously. Li Fenghua nodded, understanding the weight of his responsibility. He had spent years safeguarding Kangzhou, barely returning home, leading to his children becoming spoiled under his wife's indulgence. His wife, with her powerful family background, had grown beyond his control. As he watched the growing tension between Li Tiangang and Li Hao, he sympathized with Li Tiangang's helplessness as a father, unconsciously siding with him. Then, fifth brother, prepare yourself to leave soon. The sooner you understand the situation, the better. Don't worry about Heavenly Gate Pass, Li Tiangang instructed. Li Xuanli hesitated. What about Howard? He has the protection of the Four Stands realm. If things get worse, he will return, unless he truly wishes to throw his life away. Li Tiangang responded coldly. Li Xuanli's expression changed, but he sighed and said no more. Elders, take these cultivation techniques to Listening Rain Tower, Li Tiangang ordered, bowing slightly. The elders nodded, their duty to the family long clear. One elder hesitated over the unparalleled techniques, but Li Tiangang's face darkened as he recalled the contents of a letter. What about these unparalleled techniques? As Li Hao ascends, he faces an inevitable stagnation at the peak, where time itself will freeze for decades, leaving the fleeting advantage of youth a mere illusion. Despite his two children not being extraordinary, their connection to powerful families might one day allow them to challenge him, a thought that offers a faint sense of reassurance. Yet, she coldly dismisses Li Xuanli, her disdain growing as she weighs the future prospects of these children. We should include them, she finally decides, for the advantages far outweigh the drawbacks, leaving the choice of cultivation in the hands of Qianfeng. If he chooses to pursue them, he will serve under Hao. Otherwise, he will seek other unrivaled techniques. For Listening Rain Tower holds many such paths. The discussion closes with the consensus that perfect mastery of any technique can outweigh all others, leaving no room for hesitation. As Li Tiangang reviews a crucial report in solitude, the image of a martial target struck by an arrow stands as a metaphor for his own inner turmoil. The child's success in archery stirs pride in those around him, especially as he is gifted a blade forged from the fangs of a serpent, a symbol of growth and legacy. At a certain height, stagnation becomes inevitable, lingering for years, even decades, until the advantage of a few years becomes insignificant. While the two children may not stand out, their lineage, backed by influential families, gives them a unique foundation, one that could rival him in the future. Though a sense of relief washes over her, Li Xuanli's presence loses its appeal, her thoughts cold and dismissive. Perhaps we should include them after all. The benefits outweigh the costs. Whether to train them is up to Qianfeng. If he chooses, he will accept being beneath Hao's shadow. If not, he can master other peerless techniques. Indeed, they agree, acknowledging that within Listening Rain Tower, mastering any technique to perfection is a path to supremacy. Li Tiangang, sensing the truth in their words, remains silent. Later, as Li Tiangang revisits his report in solitude, the quiet of the courtyard is broken by the thud of an arrow striking a target. A child, thrilled with his success, jumps with joy, while his companions praise his potential, comparing his progress to his second brother's. A moment of camaraderie and pride follows as a young man presents the child with a gift, a saber forged from the fangs and scales of a giant serpent, further solidifying the bond between them. The sword, forged specifically for you, gleamed under the light as the youth spoke with a touch of envy. "Thank you, second brother!" The child, filled with joy, gripped the curved blade tightly, caressing it like a precious treasure. But soon, a loud wail broke the tranquility. Little Ninth had once again wet the bed. Laughing, the two young men made their way to the source of the noise, the child trailing behind them as they vanished into the distance. The scene faded, replaced by memories of a past now lost to time days of warmth and laughter, now only whispers, like the snow falling upon an old, worn target that once marked the youth's ambition. The laughter had long disappeared, and the one who once aimed at that target was never to return. Li Tiangang clenched his fist, breathing deeply, before turning and walking away from the mountain and river courtyard. Yu Xuan and Li Fu hesitated, but he raised his hand to stop them, leaving without a word, his figure swallowed by the snow. At Shuihua courtyard, the atmosphere was tense. Li Tiangang's presence caused the stir, his trusted aide nervously greeting him as he entered. There, a young figure practiced swordsmanship, pausing only when he noticed Li Tiangang's gazea, cold, angry look exchanged between them. Without a word, Li Tiangang moved past, heading toward a pavilion where a beautiful woman, Lu Yue Rong, stood, her eyes fixed on the young man practicing below. As she turned to face him, her voice was cold, filled with frustration. Should I kneel and beg for forgiveness? Or should I offer my life and my child's life instead? Her anger, barely contained, was met with Li Tiangang's indifferent response. I must act according to the law. Lu Yu Rong's voice quivered with emotion. You used the Soul Goose skill to force my confession. Had I stayed silent, I might have died in that prison. You are ruthless, Li Tiangang ruthless, to your own son, to us, a widow and orphan. Li Tiangang stood still, his gaze fixed on the seething hatred burning in her eyes, unable to find the words to calm the storm between them. Once, she had been a soft-spoken, gentle presence, always smiling and bringing little tokens of affection to his second brother, a symbol of their simple, youthful days. But now, all that was left was this void, where smiles had turned to resentment, and the warmth of the past had long faded. As they locked eyes, an unspoken tension filled the air, a painful reminder that nothing stays the same. In a cold, calculated tone, Li Tiangang delivered the harsh truth of her fate stripped of her noble status, condemned to a life confined to Shuihua courtyard with the Li family's support as her only solace. But her fury knew no bounds. With venom in her words, Liu Yuerong lamented her husband's untimely demise, questioning why he had sacrificed himself so foolishly for someone like him, and why their son had been born into a world without a father. She blamed him for the tragedy, for the death of a dream, and for the harsh reality they now faced. As her emotions shattered, her cries echoed through the courtyard, a desperate plea for justice and vengeance. But then, a chilling voice cut through the chaos. Li Qianfeng, her son, stepped forward, his eyes cold and unyielding. With a fierce promise to bear the consequences of his mother's actions, he faced Li Tiangang with the same chilling gaze that once belonged to someone he thought he knew. The air thickened with unspoken words as the past collided with the present, and the lines between family, vengeance, and loss blurred into something more dangerous than either of them could anticipate. Liu Yuerong, struck by Li Qianfeng's words, quickly shoved him away, her fear palpable. "Don't get involved, stay back, this is none of your concern." Li Tiangang, observing the situation, realized that Liu Yuerong's confession was not born from torture, but from a desire to protect her son from the family's disbelief, acknowledging that her persistence was now in vain. "Li Tiangang, you can imprison me, but Qianfeng is innocent. He's young and knows nothing," she declared fiercely. Li Tiangang responded slowly. "I'll be fair. If Qianfeng hasn't done wrong, I won't interfere. As long as he doesn't break the law or family rules from now on." Liu Yuerong's heart lightened, and she trembled with a mix of tears and laughter. "Feng Ping, you have a good brother," she said, the words tinged with bitterness. Li Tiangang said nothing, his eyes fixed on her and the young man, before delivering a quiet statement. "The struggle for the true dragon position is not decided yet. I've informed our ancestors. You and Howard can still compete. I've given him 3 years, and you'll have the same. If you defeat him in 3 years, the true dragon will be yours." Li Qianfeng, stunned, asked, "Is that true?" Without repeating himself, Li Tiangang merely glanced at him, his emotions withdrawn. Liu Yuerong, knowing his nature, responded with a laugh. "Li Tiangang, oh Li Tiangang, since father passed, you haven't changed. Your son won, that monster who could beat him? You could have simply let your bias give him the position. Why all this trouble?" Li Tiangang met her gaze, unruffled, and coldly replied, "Perhaps, but Daiyu needs such thick-headed leaders. The Liu family's scholars may be sharp, but what have you truly done? Seizing opportunities for profit, hiding behind the Li family for tax evasion, I don't know." Liu Yuerong's face drained of color. "If you don't want others to know, don't do it." Li Tiangang turned, his orders cold. "Seal the courtyard, she must not leave." With that, he walked away, leaving her in stunned silence. In the Piaoshu courtyard, Li Xuanli prepares to leave for Liangzhou, driven by the urgent military situation and the hidden dangers lurking there. As he gets ready, his daughter Li Wushuang questions him about his mission, wondering if he's headed to the Heavenly Gate Pass, a treacherous frontier. However, Li Xuanli reveals he's going to the Li family military camp in Liangzhou, as the Heavenly Gate Pass has already been evacuated due to the risk of demonic invasion. Concerned about his son, who may be stubborn in staying behind, Li Xuanli plans to send a military report to warn him. His wife, Gao Qingqing, reminds him to take care and suggests he send a comforting message to their son, mentioning his favorite childhood snack. Li Xuanli, touched by her care, gently clasps her hand before embarking on his journey. The family faces an uncertain future, where duty and concern for loved ones intertwine. With the world in chaos, Li Xuanli tells his children that they must cultivate swiftly, warning them not to become complacent with their abilities. His eldest daughter, Li Wushuang, argues to travel to Liangzhou, claiming she needs to face the world beyond their mountain and hone her skills by fighting demons. Her younger siblings, Li Yun and Li Zining, are disappointed by her betrayal, as they had planned to ask their father together. Li Xuanli, while proud of his daughter's progress, still sees her as too impulsive compared to others with greater achievements. Yet, when Li Wuxuang insists on seeking out her limits, her father finally agrees, saying her cultivation is strong enough for the experience. Li Yun and Li Jining protest, feeling sidelined, but Li Xuanli admits to being partial. It's a delicate balance of pride, conflict, and the unyielding pursuit of strength in a world of uncertain destiny. Li Hao, a young warrior burdened with his clan's legacy, finds himself contemplating a life beyond the familiar path. After receiving the sword manual, he decides to take a different approach to his training through real combat rather than isolated practice. He teases his companions, claiming the outing to hunt demons is merely to aid in digestion, but there's a deeper yearning to be free from the rigid expectations placed upon him. Alongside Song Chumo, he ventures into the world, while the elder Feng Boping stays behind to guard the pass. As they journey, the conversation reveals more about their future's Ren Xianxian's decision to follow her father's path and the looming questions of identity and destiny. Li Hao's thoughts are heavy, knowing that the choices made now will shape the road ahead. His calm demeanor hides an internal struggle, his need to forge his own path amidst the quiet chaos of the world. In the vast silence of the wilderness, Li Hao's journey unfolds with an air of quiet strength, his every step accompanied by the gentle flutter of a small white fox, a reminder of the serenity that cloaks him. His sword, unsheathed with effortless grace, becomes an extension of his will as it cleaves through demons with the precision of a phantom strike. With each flick of his sword, the once thriving demon presence is obliterated, their bodies scattered and forgotten by the winds of time. Li Hao, the protector of the human road, becomes a force of nature, a silent storm sweeping across the land. Yet, beneath his calm exterior, there's a deeper purposive desire to return this forsaken place to its former peace, where demons are nothing but a forgotten nightmare. As he soars through the skies, his only companion, Song Chumo, shadows him, barely needed, as Li Hao's power effortlessly keeps the darkness at bay. His path is a lonely one, but each swing of his sword, each severed tie with the past, builds toward a future where the memories of the demons will be nothing but echoes. This quiet, relentless journey is not just a battle of strength, but one of identity, a search for meaning and the silence left behind. Days passed, and the once chaotic lands around Heavenly Gate Pass had fallen silent. The demon threat was eradicated, leaving only traces of their destruction. Li Hao's fishing experience had grown, yet he was still far from the threshold of his goal. Driven by this, he ventured further, expanding his journey. Far away, in a secluded Taoist temple atop a mountain, a strange scene unfolded. The place, filled with cultivation figures, was far from ordinary. Demons, disguised as Taoist disciples, performed rituals in robes designed to accommodate horns, tails, and claws. At the temple's heart, a mummified corpse Xianxia, the great immortal demon, preached to the crowd, a sight both eerie and unnatural. This corpse, a former leader, had barely escaped the defeat at Heavenly Gate Pass. Meanwhile, in the temple's back mountains, an old Taoist sat by a waterfall, deep in thought when a woman appeared out of nowhere. She, with a beguiling smile, casually mentioned the loss of disciples and offered a tempting proposition: join the army for power. Yet the old Taoist remained unmoved, his cold eyes betraying no hint of emotion. A silence fell as he weighed the offer, sensing the unease in the air. A rare moment, a clash of wills where words alone could not bind fate. The seductive woman's voice cut through the silence, her words a quiet threat. Otherwise, that imperial holy city would fall to ashes in an instant, she continued, bitterness in her eyes. Recounting the past when the human race expanded recklessly, driving her people into the wilderness. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, she hissed, her face twisting with a hint of murderous intent. The old Taoist, ever calm, inquired, "Where do you plan to strike if we attack Liangzhou?" She explained with a sly smile that they had gathered intel on a powerful figure from the Li family, exiled and protected by a realm of unimaginable strength. Attacking through Heavenly Gate Pass would lead them straight into danger. Instead, they would bypass it for now, and once Liangzhou was in their grasp, they would return to feast on the human race. Meanwhile, in a quiet, snow-covered courtyard, Ren Qianxian moved with graceful precision, her sword cutting through the cold air. Li Hao, sitting nearby, was building a snowman, casually offering advice between shaping the snow. "The sword's technique is only a shell," he remarked. "You need to understand its rhythm and true essence." As he demonstrated with a branch flicking off the snow, his words left Ren Qianxian in stunned silence. Was this just the beginning of a deeper understanding for her? Or was there something more to the quiet wisdom in his gestures? In the midst of snowy landscapes and silent sword practice, Ren Qianxian is guided by Li Hao, Li Hongzhuang, and Song Chumo, each offering cryptic advice that only a true sword master can decipher. Their teachings are difficult yet powerful, and as she practices, Ren begins to understand the deeper essence of swordsmanship, harnessing sword intent to control the blade, a skill that brings one closer to the Grandmaster path. Meanwhile, Li Hao, ever the enigmatic figure, continues to build his snowman, detached but silently shaping his own journey. As a veteran soldier from the frontier arrives with news, tensions rise with the discovery of demonic plots against Liangzhou. Li Hongzhuang's icy resolve grows as she reads a military report, aware of the impending storm of battle. The quiet of the courtyard contrasts sharply with the chaos beyond the walls, leaving everyone poised between the calm before the storm and the danger waiting at the edges of the world. The tension grows as Li Hongzhuang, feeling the weight of her brother's concern, sends off a letter warning of a looming demon threat. Her calm resolve contrasts with the growing unease. With her brother's care evident in his message, she passes on the information to Li Hao. The demon's presence near the Liangzhou border is a threat they cannot ignore, but their response is one of quiet confidence. Li Hao, ever the strategist, remains unfazed, with a resolve to face whatever may come. Though demons flee from their territory for now, the balance remains fragile, leaving the future uncertain. In the meantime, the days pass peacefully. The snow paints the landscape in quiet stillness, but beneath it, preparations are made. Li Hao, strengthening both mind and body through his hunts, inches closer to mastering his art, while the tranquility of their routine masks the storm brewing on the horizon. As they wait, it's clear this is a world where memories and resolve intertwine, where the past does not stay buried for long, and the future is shaped by silent strength. As days passed, Li Hao's journey continued. Each hunt and every demon slain brought him closer to mastering his Grandmaster state of mind. What started with his prideful ambition gradually evolved into a deeper understanding of the universe. His path was not the common one, but one of self-discovery, aiming to unite all things into a singular truth. Through the beauty of nature, the gentle stream, the melting snow, the resilient new leaves under winter's grasp, Li Hao began questioning the forces that shaped existence. What connects all things, from the fragile to the mighty? He pondered the essence of the forces that govern the world, and through these reflections, a revelation started to emerge. This search for unity took him far from where he began, and as the weather shifted towards winter, Li Hao found solace in the quiet moments, building a sanctuary away from the chaos. Yet, even in these moments of peace, the question lingered. If the demons stay away, would the world be ready to rebuild itself once more? Li Hongzhuang pondered deeply as she ventured outside the camp, searching for any traces of demons, but found that the nearby areas had already been cleared. Venturing to the edges of the Demon King's territory, she noted the lack of any large demon forces gathering, which didn't match her brother's reports. She suspected that the demons might be planning a detour due to the presence of powerful cultivators at Heavenly Gate Pass, though she couldn't be certain. She decided to wait for further developments before warning her brother to stay cautious in other areas. Meanwhile, Song Chumo frequently visited nearby cities for supplies, and this time, she brought back some special items Li Hao had requested: chess strategies and famous paintings. Li Hao was delighted with his new acquisitions, especially the new studies of chess, which boosted his control speed by 20%, a subtle but valuable enhancement. The paintings brought unexpected traits when integrated into his paths. One painting increased his affinity to water, making him feel a deeper connection to snowflakes and hot springs, while the other gave him a slight chance of a fatal strike when attacking without revealing it first. Though the latter trait was cryptic, it hinted at hidden potential for future battles. In a world where battles and cultivation intertwine, Li Hao finds himself with an unexpected power. The hidden bow, though seemingly insignificant with its 1% chance of activation, harbors a fatal effect that sparks his curiosity. Does this mean a single strike could lead to an instant kill, no matter the opponent's realm or defense? While it's a thrilling possibility, Li Hao knows the odds are too slim to rely on. Against lower realms, he wouldn't need such an effect to defeat them, and those of higher realms would easily sense his attack, making it hard to surprise them. However, this additional attribute, though subtle, is a gift he can't ignore an extra edge without any need for cultivation. But it's when Song Chumo reveals news of another famous painting in the hands of a Grandmaster that his curiosity truly sparks. Could it be bought? What would the Grandmaster demand? Song shares that the Grandmaster is likely headed to Dayu City for a grand event, a once in 60 years gathering where martial arts Grandmasters exchange wisdom. This is a rare opportunity for Li Hao. As such, events have even been known to elevate the most unexpected individuals to legendary status. What will this journey bring for him? Only time will tell. As the story unfolds, the journey leads Li Hao into an unfamiliar territory where the past is as hazy as the stormy skies. In the mysterious Veiled Valley, memory itself is a dangerous force, and the echoes of forgotten lives stir deep within him. With each step, Li Hao finds himself distancing from his old self, a process that makes him not just a wanderer, but someone being reformed by the very land he treads on. Alongside him, the path of silence and introspection opens, as his sword as a symbol of clan legacy vanishes into memory. The windless cut, a technique born from sorrow, emerges as his tool not of destruction, but of uncovering truths without harming anyone. This volume crafts a compelling tale of letting go, as Li Hao navigates not only external landscapes, but the fragile terrains of his identity, leaving behind the weight of names and roles. It's a path that questions the nature of memory, identity, and the sacrifices made when walking towards an uncertain future. Li Hao's journey continues, and with it, a path full of uncertainty and self-discovery. After a quiet exchange with Song Chumo, Li Hao entrusts the safety of the past to her while he prepares to venture forth. His plan leads him to Dayu City, where the mysterious martial temple offers the possibility of soul succession for Ren Xianxia, marking a crucial moment in her growth. As they prepare for this new chapter, Li Hao reflects on the struggles of the little white fox, whose path to soul succession is hindered by the loss of its ancestral heritage. The weight of the journey ahead presses on him as he makes a promise to find a way to help the fox, even if it means going to extreme lengths. The bond between them strengthens, as does Li Hao's resolve. His path is never easy, but with each step, he walks deeper into a world where identity and memory are constantly shifting, and where every choice, every sacrifice, shapes his future. Will he remain who he was, or will the world reshape him into something unrecognizable? The little white fox was left behind at the camp, entrusted to someone for care. Meanwhile, a young warrior helped his companion carry her sword, and in return, she was lifted and carried by his power of manipulation. Together, they soared through the air, leaving the camp behind. A mysterious figure followed them silently, stepping through the snow and wind, shadowing their every move. Even though the young warrior's combat prowess surpassed that of his follower, the latter still stuck to his duty, ensuring his protection was upheld. They journeyed toward Dayu City, a place that stood as a stronghold of power in the northwest, where merchant caravans regularly passed through the grand city gates. Within its imposing walls, a young girl, disguised and with a keen mind, analyzed the strategic importance of the city. Her thoughts were sharp and military-focused, recognizing the potential for defense against unseen threats. As she gazed at the expanse before her, she thought about her future, her desire to advance her cultivation and make her mark on the martial world, a path leading toward greater power and recognition. In the world of the Qian Kun list, only the most exceptional youth are recognized, categorized into two groups, the Qian Phoenix list and the Qian Dragon list. The former is reserved for prodigies under 18, while those over 22 can no longer enter the latter. The competition is fierce, especially for the noble offspring vying for spots on the Phoenix list, and those from powerful families who aim for the Dragon list. To be listed is an incredible honor, granting access to prestigious resources, cultivation techniques, and invitations from influential powers, paving the way for an easy path in cultivation. Li Wuxia, currently ranked just outside the top 30 on the Qian Dragon list, is surrounded by powerful figures, some even from the divine travel realm. Despite her own formidable strength, she faces fierce competition, especially from the likes of Bian Rusho, who ranks just above her. However, the rankings shift dramatically with the announcement of a new contender, a young prodigy who has entered the Qian Dragon list at the unprecedented age of 14. This sensational rise to 5th place shakes the martial world, especially with the mysterious background of this rising star, whose recent exploits in the Borderlands have caught the attention of many. The Qian Kun list reveals not just names, but the destiny of those who will shape the future. And Li Wuxia is left to navigate the intricate web of alliances and rivalries in this ever-changing landscape. The revelation of a 14-year-old reaching the heavenly human realm shook the martial world. Ranking 5th on the Qian Dragon list, this youth was now a force to be reckoned with, defying expectations. Known for the rare few who could compete for the top 10 positions, he was a prodigy, a beacon of potential. Within 2 years, some predicted he'd claim the top spot, holding it until he turned 22, leaving his mark for 6 years. Meanwhile, in Dayu City, a caravan arrives, and among the travelers is Lin Feifei, excited by the city's grandeur, though initially she thought Liangzhou to be a poor area. As they approach their destination, she mentions the Heavenly Gate Pass, where Master Li resides, sparking a conversation about meeting him after the event. This exchange holds an underlying tension, as Song Yueyao, who is with Lin Feifei, shows a hint of quiet contemplation when the topic arises. With the world watching, it's clear that this youth's journey is just beginning, and the true implications of his rise are yet to unfold. Amid the unpredictable and perilous Heavenly Gate Pass, Song Yueyao understands the risks of their presence, reminding her friend that their primary goal is to cultivate and improve. She reassures her that her grandfather's belief in Aunt Chumo's ability to safeguard them has eased their worry about Li Hao. Lin Feifei, feeling regretful but knowing better than to speak further, murmurs softly in his defense, though she is cautious about speaking ill of the Divine General. The duo reminds themselves that the Grand Assembly of Grandmasters awaits, where their journey to the 15 Li realm would lead them toward greater power. Meanwhile, high above Dayu City, a purple golden robed youth with a cruel gleam in his eyes discusses a sinister plot to seize the city. The youth, eager to join forces with his father and sweep through the region, calls on his allies to be ready for a ruthless assault, while the gray-robed elder enjoys the prospect of feasting on the cultivators. As they prepare to strike, a chilling calm settles, hinting at the chaos about to unfold. Do you like this personality? In a world where appearances can deceive, a young man clad in purple gold robes walks toward a city, his steps determined. But before he enters, a gray-robed elder advises him to change his attire and conceal his divine gaze to avoid unwanted attention. The youth's annoyance is palpable as he reluctantly transforms into a more modest yellow robe, his eyes shifting from regal purple to ordinary black. With a final glance, they step into the bustling city, where martial artists from all realms gather, drawn by the promise of excitement. As they pass through the crowded streets, the youth overhears a conversation about the youngest grandmaster in history, his name whispered with awe. Li Hao, casual and composed, watches the lively exchange, all the while sensing that his identity, once shrouded in mystery, might soon be revealed in ways he never anticipated. The story follows Li Hao, a character who's unbothered by fame and fortune, seeking only peace and a life free of burdens. Amidst the chaotic world of martial arts, rumors swirl about the power and secrets of the Divine General Mansions, particularly the infamous Tianji Tower. Despite its widespread influence, Li Hao's focus remains unshaken, even as he learns he has inadvertently made it onto the Qian Dragon list. While others seek glory and recognition, Li Hao's goal is far simpler. He wants to live freely. His journey takes him to the martial temple, where he is accompanied by Ren Xianxia, a companion eager to explore the path of martial arts. The city is abuzz with martial artists, and amidst this bustling atmosphere, Li Hao seeks the central martial temple, where he does not worship, but walks purposefully toward his next step in a life of solitude, leaving the world's expectations behind. In the quiet of the martial temple, where incense burns faintly, Li Hao and Ren Xianxia step forward to honor the spirits of past heroes. The two of them, guided by respect, light incense and pay their tribute, marking their presence in the sacred space. The temple keeper, a man of wisdom, recognizes Ren Xianxia's lineage and grants her access, sealing her entry into the temple's mysterious realm. The spirits within are not fully awakened, only those skilled enough can stir them from their semi-slumber. Bored and restless, Li Hao explores the surroundings, discovering two keepers engrossed in a lackluster game of chess. Their play is dull, but when Li Hao casually interrupts, tossing a few pieces on the board, he inadvertently sets a chain of events in motion. The game, once stagnant, shifts, offering an unexpected victory for one of the keepers, who realizes the brilliance of the moment only after the youth has left. Undeterred by the mundane, Li Hao turns his attention to other matters, instructing an elderly shrine attendant to relay a message to Ren Xianxia. He exits the temple with quiet confidence, his sleeves flowing behind him as he heads toward the city. Inside a lively tavern, amidst the clamor and flickering candlelight, Li Hao seeks information about the mysterious Grandmaster Bai Chunhai, marking the next step of his journey. In the midst of the tavern's lively atmosphere, Li Hao remains distant from the spectacle below, where a dagger, embedded with amber gems, swings temptingly beneath a candle's flicker. The challenge is clear. Remove the dagger without disturbing the flame, and it's yours for free. The crowd is eager, but Li Hao is unmoved, his attention shifting to something deeper. Finding a quiet spot by the railing, he begins to sift through the sounds around him with sharp ears, overhearing whispers of admiration from a group below about his appearance. His mood brightens slightly as his senses continue to gather the fragments of conversations until the name Bai Chunhai catches his attention. Curious, he moves toward the table where a group discusses an impending duel between Bai Chunhai and a mysterious master. The details intrigue him, and without hesitation, he interrupts, seeking more information. The conversation halts, and a tense silence follows. The trio, initially wary, soon relaxes when Li Hao clarifies that he's merely seeking to meet the legendary master. The encounter reveals an interesting truth. Many, like him, are drawn to the Grandmasters, some seeking apprenticeships, others eager to learn. Li Hao, standing on the edge of this world, is quietly reminded of the paths that open when one seeks knowledge not for fame, but for something far deeper. In a world where young masters and ladies from fading noble houses or newly rising families travel long distances to find a master, fate brings them to meet great ones if luck is on their side. Li Hao, with a calm smile, asks, "Do you know where I can find him?" The girl in the orange dress, sharp and feisty, shoots him a glare, her annoyance clear, while the young man only speaks up to suggest that after the Grandmaster's conference, Li Hao might find what he's looking for. Li Hao remains unbothered, offering a silver coin to guide him, but the girl dismisses it, uninterested in the small amount. She then points to a dagger hanging by the staircase, daring him to retrieve it as proof of his sincerity. Despite the challenge, Li Hao, unfazed, moves forward, determined, even though the task ahead seems impossible. As he heads downstairs, the group watches in confusion, their mocking comments trailing behind him. Li Hao, however, isn't just seeking a master, he's navigating a path of his own, driven not by money but by purpose. As the scene unfolds, it becomes clear that for Li Hao, the journey is far more important than the destination. How exactly did you do that? What's your name? Where are you from? Li Hao didn't answer, feeling as if a bee was buzzing near his ear. The young lady in the plain white dress also stealthily observed Li Hao, her eyes filled with curiosity. Among her peers, she had rarely seen someone so formidable. Before long, under the young man's lead, they arrived at the Grandmaster's debate platform in the city, where the place was bustling and already surrounded by spectators. All the inns around were fully booked. In a restaurant with a stage set up for plays, the young man found their maestra, short-statured, middle-aged man who looked like a grandmaster, named Zhou Haitang. The young man introduced Li Hao and whispered the events at the restaurant to him. Zhou Haitang, who was listening to the play, looked up at Li Hao and then chuckled. "May I ask, young master, whence you hail and how you are addressed?" "Ji Hao." Li Hao simply said. Zhou Haitang pondered for a moment. This name wasn't on the Qiankun list. It seemed likely he was a new member of a renowned family, which Li Hao's age seemed to suggest. "You're only a surname away from that unparalleled genius on the Qian Dragon list?" Zhou Haitang chuckled slightly and said, "Do you wish to become Bai Chunhai's disciple? I too have some proficiency in martial arts. Would you be interested?" Zhou Ling'er and the others looked at him in surprise, not expecting their master to be so opportunistic and actually wanting to take the young man under his wing right away. However, considering the martial prowess that Li Hao had displayed, if he were to join, perhaps he could even surpass them in skill more quickly. Thinking this, the three felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. "I'm not here to become a disciple." Li Hao shook his head slightly. "I would like to purchase a painting from him." Chapter 140. Ren Qianxian crosses the border. "Oh?" Upon hearing Li Hao's words, Zhou Haitang appeared somewhat astonished. After all, he was a Grand Master of the Tianren sect, and to have his personal invitation refused was unexpected. However, considering what his apprentice had just said, this youth's ability to approach the candle flame without disturbing it demonstrated a solid foundation in martial arts. Once he steps into the 15 Li realm, his chances of advancing to the heavenly human realm would be much greater than those so-called cultivation prodigies. Such talent, if not a prodigy, must have been nurtured by a prestigious sect. "Buying a painting? What painting?" Zhou Haitang asked with a slight lift of his eyebrows. Li Hao shook his head slightly and replied, "The painting is in Bai Chunhai's possession. I'll need your assistance to introduce me." In a world where every step is weighed with significance, Li Hao's encounter with Zhou Haitang is a curious one. Instead of seeking a master to learn from, he only asks for a painting, an act that leaves everyone around him perplexed. His refusal to become an apprentice to the Grandmaster, despite the opportunity, stirs surprise. Yet, Zhou Haitang remains unbothered, offering a simple invitation to wait for the Grandmaster's arrival. But Li Hao is not one to linger. His mission is clear. With only a few words exchanged, he leaves, dismissing the idea of apprenticeship, his eyes set on other matters. The young girl, Zhou Ling'er, in her frustration, doesn't understand Li Hao's disinterest in such a rare opportunity. But a quiet remark from another of the apprentices brings a moment of reflection. As Li Hao walks away, the quiet hum of his sword resonates with purpose, leaving behind a trail of whispers that question his origin, his strength, and his choices. Back at the martial temple, his encounter with Ren Qianxian signals the next step in his journey on that moves beyond the simple desire for power and recognition. In his silence, in his calm, there lies a deeper strength that others cannot yet grasp. In the mystical world where martial prowess is revered, Ren Qianxian's exceptional swordsmanship catches the attention of a mysterious predecessor from the Four Stands realm. This rare recognition fills her with pride, as being chosen by one of the realm's spirits is an honor few could claim. Despite her father being a grandmaster, the path to advancing one's soul to the Four Stands realm is not without immense challenge. Unlike the rigid soul succession process at Tan Palace Academy, where constraints abound, the Martial Temple offers a far more relaxed approach. The only stipulation for entering the realm is to stand firm when the Daiyu Divine Dynasty faces peril, a condition that seems more symbolic than pressing, given the dynasty's distant conflicts. As Ren celebrates her progress, she turns to Li Hao, who humbly credits her understanding, not his teachings, for her success. With the sense of anticipation, the duo sets off to explore Liangzhou City, enjoying its lively atmosphere and cultural richness. As the city readies itself for a major Grandmaster event, a bustling contest kicks off, attracting prodigies and martial artists from across the region. This vibrant spectacle offers a taste of the talents that will soon gather at the event, providing Ren with a preview of what lies ahead in her journey to the heavenly human realm. Li Hao felt indifferent to the commotion around him, his power far surpassing those in the 15 Li realm. A mere demonstration of strength would feel like bullying children. However, when Ren Xianxia, freshly completed with her soul succession, was full of excitement, he didn't have the heart to dampen her enthusiasm. He accompanied her to the soul succession realm stage, where they coincidentally met Zhou Linger and Zhu Wan'er, who were also eager to test their abilities. As Ren Xianxia noticed the subtle tension, she couldn't help but stand on her tiptoes, questioning their connection. The conversation grew tense when Zhou Linger, sensing Li Hao's aloof demeanor, mocked him. But Ren Xianxia, sensing the disrespect, swiftly stepped in, her words sharp and unwavering. Zhou Linger, realizing Li Hao's importance from his earlier actions, couldn't help but challenge him. However, Li Hao, unbothered and bored, cast her aside with a glance. Ren Xianxia, protective of him, shot back with cold words, making it clear that the challenge was beneath him. The scene was set in a battle of pride, a brewing storm of personalities where Li Hao's silent strength stood unwavering. Zhou Linger's fury ignites as she challenges her opponent's supposed master, questioning his strength and daring them to fight on a larger platform. In response, Ren Xianxia, though still new to the soul succession realm, steps up, determined to take on Zhou Linger. Li Hao, watching from the sidelines, offers cautious advice, urging her to avoid injuring her opponent despite the obvious power difference. His calm demeanor raises questions from those nearby, but his confidence in Ren Xianxian's resolve remains unshaken. As the duel begins, Zhou Linger, with her established strength in the Four Stands realm, unleashes her fierce assault, but Ren Xianxian's swordplay counters it effortlessly. The stage is set, and with a swift flick of her blade, Ren Xianxia finds herself in control, the tension palpable as her sword rests on Zhou Linger's throat. The scene is a delicate balance between skill, pride, and the unspoken tension of what it means to surpass one's limits. The battle had ended, and Zhu Wan'er stood in awe, realizing she had won. How could that girl, who was just starting to ascend in cultivation, display such complex swordsmanship? On the stage, Zhou Linger remained transfixed, gazing at her reflection in the blade, lost in confusion. Ren Xianxia, with a swift motion, sheathed her sword and called out to the crowd, inviting more challengers. This was merely a warm-up for her, even though there was a significant difference in their cultivation levels. Despite just stepping into the soul succession realm, her swordplay far surpassed her opponents, relying on finesse to outmaneuver brute force. Zhou Linger, overwhelmed, blushed with shame and hurried off the platform, unable to accept her defeat. Zhu Wan'er, forgetting her own desire to compete, rushed after her in concern. Meanwhile, Ren Xianxia stood ready, eagerly waiting for the next challenge. After defeating 4 opponents in a row, she was finally overcome by a woman in the 8th layer of the soul succession realm. As she stepped down, slightly disheartened, Li Hao remarked that with more time to master her technique, she could have won. Ren Xianxia, though frustrated, was eager to improve. Her curiosity sparked, she asked Li Hao, with hope in her eyes, how many moves he would need to win if he fought with just the 1st layer of soul succession realm power. She knew she couldn't match his level, but longed to understand the path he once walked, to follow in the shadow of his past.